to show you guys this Prius engine that I recently replaced. It's out of a 2011 Toyota Prius. It's actually my dad's car, and I wanted to show you what will happen if it starts to have a head gasket issue and you let it go too long, which is you can actually have a hole get punched in the block. An actual blown up engine here. There's pieces of the bottom of the crankcase, and you can kind of see up in there and see the crank, and the fact that the rod is snapped in half. So the story with this engine was it was starting to have a misfire on startup. So initially I thought maybe it was bad coils or spark plugs. So replaced the plugs. They were original, 100,000 miles on them. Still had an issue, so looked into it and found some info that it could be a head gasket starting to go, and coolant leaking into the cylinders would cause the misfire. So I did a little more research and found some people recommended using this Red Devil, I think it was Red Devil or Blue Devil, Blue Devil head gasket sealant that you just pour into the coolant and let it run through the engine, and it's supposed to help seal up a head gasket. Some people said they had success, and it seemed at first like it was going to work. Put about, I don't know, maybe 1,000 miles on it or so. The misfiring issue had gone away and it seemed like it was running fine. Until one evening, my dad said he was just pulling out from the gas station and suddenly lost all power and noticed oil dumping all over the ground. Had it towed home, and then we realized it had this hole in the block. And my assumption is that the head gasket finally let go all at once and hydro locked the cylinder, and fluid won't compress, so it found the only path it had left to go and blew a hole out the bottom of the block and shattered the piston. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the head off of this and take a look at the head gasket, and maybe we can see where the coolant first entered the cylinder and what exactly it is that causes these head gasket failures, because it seems to be a common issue on these third generation Priuses where the head gaskets will fail kind of prematurely. At least I think it is, around 100,000 miles, and Toyotas are typically known for going 250,000 miles or more without having any big issues. And I don't know what it is about the Prius, because I think the same engine is used in the Corollas, and I don't think they had the same kind of problems. I also want to take a look at this odd clutch system they have. It's an automatic, but it uses what looks like a clutch instead of a torque converter. Transmission's kind of odd. It's got an electric motor built into the transmission on the Prius. So I might take a look at that and see how that works. But yeah, I'm going to start pulling off the valve cover here, and I already got the intake manifold loose. Get that out of the way. But I think, yeah, coils already out. Go ahead and pull the valve cover. Covers off. You can see it's a dual overhead cam engine with a chain drive instead of a belt. So yeah, this is what you would want to disassemble before it gets to this point and just do the head gasket. Otherwise, you may have this same problem where you're going to be replacing the entire engine. Something else interesting on these engines, being that it's a hybrid, it does have a crank pulley, but there is no belts. In fact, it has an electric water pump. The AC compressor is all electric, electric power steering, and then you have no alternator because the electric motor is also the alternator and takes care of charging all the electronics. And this front cover here, that's going to have to come off in order to get the timing components off so that I can pull the cams and then actually get down to the head bolts in there. And you have to fire up the air compressor, use the impact gun on that crank pulley bolt. Let's get this crank pulley removed. May need to use a puller on that. Just pry it. Oh, yeah. It's starting to come off. That. This here is the oil filter housing. These are one of those cartridge style filters, and these things are a real pain in the ass to remove. Even with the special tool for it, it's, I don't know, I've always hated this style of filter. Not any cheaper than just getting a normal cartridge filter either. Alright, so we got just a couple bolts left, and this front cover should come off. It's a 14 millimeter. Probably be a little more careful with this thing if it wasn't already destroyed. Not really too concerned about ruining this engine at this point. Alright, so there's the timing chain assembly. The guides. guy here is your chain tensioner. You probably want to time this into some specific top dead center if you were actually going to rebuild this, but again, this thing is destroyed, so there's really no point. Okay, get this out of the way. And then I believe this little secondary chain here runs the oil pump, but that can probably stay for now. Pull this other guide off. Right, now should be able to pull the cams. Let's get this other chain guide out of the way. Okay, now I'll pull these cam covers. Looks like all these bolts are same length. So if you were going to reassemble this, I don't think you have to worry about mixing those up. And these other ones are 10mm head. All the cam caps. Cams out of there. Looks like this intake cam here, I believe, has variable valve timing, which is what this guy here is. Allows the timing to be advanced. Does that through oil pressure. Probably fed through one of these holes here. And then these valves use rockers. They are these roller rockers. Stay there. And then this here is the other half of the cam assembly that has to come off because the head bolts are just underneath it here. Probably gonna have to just pry on that. Sealant's holding it together. Probably why I forgot a bolt. Let's try that again. Out of the way. These head bolts are interesting. Doesn't look like a Torx or an Allen. It's like a 12-point inverted socket. Wonder if I can get away with using an Allen on that and not stripping them out. Alright, so a 10mm Allen does fit. It's just only going to grab 6 points at a time on these bolts. We'll see if that'll work. they're all okay, should be able to lift the head off now. Maybe I should pull that exhaust manifold first. Yeah, this bracket on the exhaust manifold is partly holding it to the block. So the head's not going to go anywhere until that comes off. Heat shield out of the way. Should probably have put this engine on the engine stand. Doesn't really balance so well. Need an extension. Okay, well, let's get the head off of here. Alright, there's the cylinder head. And the head gasket. And this is the cylinder that is missing the piston. Piston's here, but nothing here. Don't really see where it failed exactly. Huh. Thought there would be more evidence of somewhere where coolant had pushed past the head gasket and gotten in there. I'm not really seeing much. Be a little evidence right there. Top of the head's all beat up from the broken piston slamming into it. Probably that valve looks a little bit bent. Huh, interesting. I thought there'd be more to see. Well, probably will pull the lower half of the engine off and get more of a look at the damage inside. Alright, so before I can remove the lower half of this block to get a better look at the inside of it here, I'm going to have to remove this flywheel and clutch assembly, so go ahead and get that taken apart and also get a look at how that works. This has no clutch fork or throwout bearing or anything in it like a normal manual transmission would. So I'm curious to see how this works, how it disengages. Okay, there'd be a clutch in there, but I guess there is not even a clutch. It's just connected to the flywheel. This looks like the center of a clutch with these springs. I guess it's just a little bit of a cushion so that when it engages the transmission, it helps to just cushion it slightly. Huh, okay. I guess with the electric system you don't need a torque converter or a clutch of any kind. Okay, these are 12 point, maybe 14 millimeter. Alright, here's the flywheel. Add that to the pile. Okay, I think I'll just flip this engine over and pull the lower half off. Oil pan. Hands for this. Okay, here's the pan. Oh yeah. Kinds of chunks of metal in there. Oh yeah, even more metal. Ah, there's where the wrist pin ended up. Oh. Looks like there's some other bunch of chunks of piston. Piece is starting to go into the oil pump. We should pull that oil pump next. Ah, crap. And my camera battery's about to die. Okay, I'll have to pick this up in a minute. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get the oil pump here out of the way. Oh, that's right. I'm going to have to pull the chain off of here. Just going to have to remove this little chain here that drives the oil pump. Get the tensioner out of there. You have to take that bolt off. Okay, there's the oil pump. And now I can remove the lower half of the engine block. Oh, it actually got bent. Probably when the rod swung around in there. Alright. There's part of a piston, what's left of it. A whole bunch more little chunks of shrapnel down in there. Another piece of a piston. This guy here is the front crank timing wheel. The crank sensor comes right in through here to read the little notches on that wheel there. And there's what's left of the rod. Snapped right off. I think I'll pull these caps here on the crankshaft and get that out of there next. There's one. It's kind of a press fit almost. Probably wouldn't want to be this rough on it if you were going to actually rebuild this. But obviously all these parts are destroyed, so bearings still look like they're in really good shape. Yeah, very minimal wear. Alright, and there's the crankshaft. Looks like this engine actually has some oil squirters in here. Doesn't seem like a bad designed engine. Just surprised with how easily the head gaskets seem to fail. Like to get some of these pistons out and take a look at the rest of them. There's that wrist pin from the piston that blew into a bunch of pieces. Man, yeah, there's some very thin, light little rods, but the 3 remaining pistons don't look too bad. Alright, well that's that. That's full tear down on this Prius engine. And unfortunately that's what can happen if the head gasket completely fails. Yeah, looks to me like it was probably right around here where it started to let go. Enough coolant got in there and hydro-locked it and shattered the piston. But I was able to replace the engine with another good used one. Got the car running again. But something to keep an eye out for if you happen to have one of these 3rd generation Priuses. Alright, well, I think I'll probably wrap it up there. That's about all there is to it.